We're live. Hello, everyone. Popping in, coming in a little at a time. So, gotta gotta start everything going a few minutes early. So hopefully notifications get sent out to everyone. And if I look exhausted, I am. I slept okay last night, but just yesterday was kind of a big day. It was my granddaughter's birthday and birthday party. There's a lot of kids there. It was kind of exhausting just being there. That was good though. Cute little thing. She's still just itty bitty, teeny tiny thing. Uh, Definitely, she's a 2-year-old. So, before I get going, I will just go ahead and remind everyone, as I usually do, that in the description box is a link to the currently set at private backup reboot is what I call it. Every time it's a backup stream, I call it reboot so people know the difference. Just in case I get cut off in mid topic, then I can have the backup stream to go to. I will definitely make sure if it just stops and it seems like it's frozen, then I'll let you know it in chat if I'm going to start that stream. If I feel like I've said enough on my topic, then I'll just probably call it good from there and not start the backup stream. However, if I make it all the way through my topic, then I plan to stick around and talk about a few other things. Some of it may be whatever comes up in chat, and I have a couple other things I'd like to talk about. What I will say before I get started is I could really use some prayer. It's just been There's been a lot of emotional stress, I'll put it that way, and Patrick and I are great, it's not that. So, before people start jumping to conclusions like some people do wrongly, it's just, it's extended family, and, been very emotionally stressful. I worry about my family a lot, sometimes wonder how much do you try to intervene and help people, and how much do you just sit back and you don't want to be meddlesome, but at the same time you want to be able to help as is needed, and regardless it takes a toll on my spirit, on my mind, because I worry about my family all the time, far more than I should. It's the cost of being a mom. A mom, a grandma, all that. And I know that I just need to give it all over to God. And I keep saying, okay, Lord, it's in your hands. And yet I keep wanting to take it back so I can worry about it some more because it's, just so fun. But at any rate, I could really use some prayer for not just myself and wisdom, and knowledge on how to talk to my family, and how to properly give help without being too meddlesome or annoying, or you know um but also for the sake of my family. I mean, they all individually need prayer. So I'd really appreciate that, for anybody who has the time or thinks about it, whether it be now or tomorrow or next week. But, I know that's part of the reason for my exhaustion today. It's just everything just kinda weighing on me today. It's been like that. And it's not just family. It's like it's been so dreary. Early spring is probably one of the most difficult times of the year when you live here because of the massive amount of rain that we get. We get about that same amount in the fall and all through the winter, but spring is different. There's something about it that's just different. I think part of it's because it's had so many months where the ground just gets saturated and everything just turns into a mud hole. Now, before I had gardens and chickens, it wasn't like that. All the water just made the grass green. That was it. But when you got a garden and you got chickens and you got dogs and everybody's walking through even the areas that are supposed to be grassy because those areas have been narrowed down to just a couple little pathways, they turn to mud. That's just all there is to it. We do have some grading that helps, but it's not, and so I feel like my yard, especially my backyard where the main garden is just a big mud hole. I feel like it looks so ugly. I hate going back there. The chickens are everywhere. There's poop everywhere. And sometimes it just starts to weigh on you. It just starts to get to you. It's like I need some nice weather and I need the soil to dry out. And I got another week or so before I put my potatoes in the ground. Is it going to be dry enough for me to do that? It's just all this stuff starts to get to you after a while. This is not an easy place for a lot of people to live. It took me a long time to adjust. And even then, even though most of the time I love it here, there's this time in the spring, before we can get serious about like actually working in the garden, that it gets really depressing because it's just, you can't do anything in this. It's not the working in the rain. It's that you simply can't do anything with the garden when it's like this because it's just saturated mud hole is what it is, and it's pointless. So, and tell you what, I'm ready to start planting. What I can say on the good side of things is that the lady that sent me those mortgage lifter tomato seeds, man, those were the first ones to pop out of my little seed pots in my window in there. I mean, they're just, and then my purple's right behind it. My other twos, the Romas and the black brandywines, the Romas haven't come up at all, but the seed might be too old. I may have to just plant some different seed in there. But the black brandywines, I have a few coming up, but they're just not popping up so good. But it's still a blessing to see all those other tomatoes, the purples and the mortgage lifters, just like crazy in there. And all of my herbs, even the echinacea, just pop up out of the ground. And echinacea doesn't have the best germination rate. So there's some positive news. Anyway, so let's go ahead and we're going to get started since I'm already actually, according to my computer clock, it's 12:47. According to that one, or a 12. Wait, am I late? Am I really late? It says 12. Oh, I know what's going on. My computer clock is totally messed up. It says 12:48 a.m. my time, and it's supposed to be, well, good grief, what time is it? Am I late? I'm wondering if I started late. I don't think so. I don't even know because I haven't reset that clock yet. Yeah, no, I haven't reset the clock, but that says 10:45. Yeah, so my computer had to reboot before I came in here and it was acting really bizarre. And so in the middle of the reboot, I had to turn it completely off and then restart it again. And I thought for a minute it was never coming back on. It totally freaked me out. I thought, I don't even know, maybe I'm not even supposed to do this show today because I decided not to do the earlier live. I didn't really have a topic. So I'm just like, I am exhausted today. I think I'm just not going to do that. I'm also was shoot a video today. Didn't do that either. I'm like not going to, but I'll do the live because if nothing else, I could really use the emotional boost it gives me being in here with you guys because it really does help because I've just not had a really good spirit today. And I really need the emotional boost. And anyway, so yes, I said I was going to get started on the topic and I'm still rambling. So hello all. Thanks for coming in. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Even when we're just not feeling it. He's still good. He's still there. He's still amazing and wonderful and the creator of all things. And I am grateful for him. So today, I thought it would be fun to come back to the topic again. I actually have a video coming out where I mentioned some of this, but I have several videos that I think I've linked to in the description box. And I'll be talking about, well, the videos I'm linking to are talking about some things like replacements for foil, replacements, in the kitchen, for plastics. And then obviously there's all the cloth versus paper things. And so I wanted to go over some of that, some of the things that I do so that I don't have to be dependent on foil and, throwaway single use items. But that doesn't mean that your single use items don't have their place. And I wouldn't not keep foil stocked up. I do keep a good amount of foil on hand because it does definitely have its place. I just don't want to be dependent on it. I do keep plastic wrap on hand because it does have its place, even though I very rarely use it, but it still has its place. So, and I keep paper products, single use paper products on hand. Why? Because they have their place. So, as much as I do like to talk about like cloth for whether it be for toilet paper replacement, paper towel replacement, tissue replacement, feminine napkin replacement, diaper replacement, um, it doesn't mean that having those things on hand um, in their paper form don't have their place. Because so let me start with the cloth. Here's why it's still a good idea to keep some paper towels on hand, to keep toilet paper on hand, even if you've switched completely to cloth or a bidet or both, or some other way to clean yourself with, or you've switched entirely to cloth feminine napkins or cloth diapers or whatever. Okay. Cloth table napkins. Um, Having that stuff on hand could be very, very beneficial in many ways. So one of those being, let's talk about if there is some kind of event. Let's say you have a main break. Let's say you're in city water and you have a main break and you have no water, but you've got a bunch of clothes to wash. And maybe you're out of your cloth wipes or your cloth diapers or your, whatever that you use cloth to replace, and you're just getting ready to wash some clothes and you don't have any water, or your electricity goes out and you can't run your washing machine and you don't have another way to wash, you're going to be glad you have those paper things on hand. The same thing goes with dishes. So though typically I'm not going to use paper dishes, even for big gatherings here at the house, I do keep paper dishes on hand because we do barbecues down at the other piece of property. There's really no good way to wash dishes and stuff down there. And who's going to want to be hauling dirty dishes back? Yes, we're going to use paper in that case. I do try to look for the most natural ones, though, not the ones with all the printed flowers and the glossy whatevers. Try to find the most natural paper stuff that we can use. But yes, we keep those paper dishes on hand, but the same thing goes even back at the house. What if here something similar happened? We didn't have access to water to wash those dishes with. I mean, I always wash dishes by hand, so electricity wouldn't be a problem. And we can heat water on our wood stove or even on a camp stove if I want hot water or whatever. We have other ways to heat water. Um, what if for some reason, maybe it's that time of the year where maybe our water tanks are low. That very, very rarely happens, even in the midsummer, but just because of the great amount of rain we get. But let's say our water tanks are low, so we don't have our rainwater collection. The city water's out for whatever reason. Having those paper dishes is going to be handy because who wants all their dirty dishes consistently building up with no real good way to wash them? Now, I don't think I'd ever be here at the house without a way to wash the dishes just because of our rainwater collection. It's incredibly, it would be a very, very slim to none chance that we wouldn't have one or the other, the city water or the rainwater. It's very, very slim. Same thing with power sources. We'd always have some kind of power source. But you just never know what can happen. And so that's why I see the single use throwaway items as being a good thing to have on hand. It doesn't mean you have to stock high up on this stuff, but just having some of this on hand. Or like when I do have dinners here at the house and I want to send someone home with something, and I don't necessarily trust them to get my dishes back to me in a timely manner, if at all, then I like having the plastic wrap or something and some paper dishes that I can wrap the stuff up and send it home. So they can just throw that stuff away and I don't have to worry about getting it back. Because it was funny because one of my boys, I kept sending stuff home with him in glass dishes with lids. And I was like, man, what is happening to all my little glass dishes? And one day he brings something to me in these glass dishes. I'm like, "Oh, good, my dishes. I've been wondering what happened to them." And he goes, "Oh, I thought those were mine." Anyway, it's like, "No, those are my glass dishes. That's what I use to store food in, so I don't have to use plastic. So I don't have to use plastic wrap and plastic throwaway stuff." So and with that in mind, in order to replace some of those little cheap plastic whatevers that are single use items that people will store their food in or using plastic wrap, that's one of the things I do. I have glassware. I have a couple, I have the glassware brand, the glass lock. I also have a Rubbermaid brand that, where they're glass, but they have their own plastic lid, BPA free. But typically that's not going to touch the food anyway, so don't worry about that too much. That's typically what I'm gonna use to store food in the fridge with, um, or, even mason jars. It depends on the food. Some stuff I wouldn't wanna store in mason jars because the size, shape of it, but yeah. So that's just a few ideas, and as I mentioned in one of the videos I have linked to down below, I cover a lot of that. I think it's, reducing plastics in the kitchen and, ways that I go about that, and I bring up, like, the silicone bags in at least one of them, the silicone covers, or how you can use your plates. Like, I find my Corelle plates all seem to have bowls that they fit over perfectly, and if you typically, I'll put them face up because then the bottom part of the plate actually kinda seats down into the bowl quite nicely, so it's not gonna slide around. Um, but then there's also now these are plastic. When I bought them initially, I thought they were silicone because I was looking for silicone, and then I realized these weren't plastic at all, but I do still use these. But they're reusable. So some of you who have bought these, if you didn't see my little short or the this and that I did on that, if you bought these kind of reusable zip lock bags for freezing, like I'll use the gallon size ones for freezing blackberries and grapes in. Yes, they're plastic, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And but then after you've used them once or twice, you find that you can't zip them back up again. It's almost impossible. It's like it won't line up or something. Even this one's a little tough. All you got to do, I learned this from one of my subscribers that commented, put a little bit of oil, any kind of food grade oil right in there, a little avocado, a little coconut oil, whatever, right on the zipper. You just need, even if you just put a little on your finger and rub it on there, then you'll just find it's like, it works again. Yay. Even though, but just a few seconds before that, it was near impossible to get it to zip up. That was a game changer because I was thinking, am I going to have to throw these bags out? Because I still like to use them, even though I try to, the silicone's going to be a little safer. Silicone's expensive and it's heavier and it does take up more room. And I have a lot of these other bags like this, and I'd hate to toss them. And something like that takes up a lot less room than glass. And sometimes using glass in the freezer, you can do it. You got to be careful. Glass, same thing with mason jars. But something like that, you can usually put a lot more of that in your freezer. And that's why I say even plastic can have its place as much as we try to reduce as much of that as possible. So, a few other things. Obviously, you have like some other paper items, cups, paper towels. I mentioned that. For paper towels, I replacement I have and for tissue replacement both. So facial tissues, I think I have a couple of boxes of facial tissues around here that I only kept on for the sake of when I was teaching dance, and you have little girls with runny noses almost every day. There's at least one of them. Then, that's what the paper tissues were for. But for me, t-shirt rags, t-shirt rags. So old t-shirts that got holes, stains, or whatever, you don't wear them anymore, you cut them up, t-shirt rags. We have massive pile of t-shirt rags, and I like having a massive pile of them. So every old t-shirt gets cut up for rags. This also makes great replacement for paper towels. But I still keep paper towels on hand for the same reason as mentioned before. Or if it's something where, well, I have enough t-shirt rags, I could probably do this and not worry about it. But if it's something where it's a really, really greasy mess, and I'd rather not use my t-shirt rags that I like to wash and reuse, then I might resort to the paper towels. But generally speaking, they rarely get used, but I still like having them on hand. So I don't stock massively on paper towels. I keep a package on hand. And it might take me a whole year or so to go through a single roll, but I have them. So I bought 100% cotton burp cloths for paper towel replacements. There you go. So are those, hey Deb, are those like a terry cloth kind of thing? I've never bought burp rags. I've always had my mom made some for Ryan when he was first born. She sewed up a bunch, and then, I also, since I was doing cloth diapers, I had bought both the pre-folded kind and the big gauzy kind. They're like a big massive square. Well, the burp rags that my mom made were just not big enough for Ryan, because when he was going to spit up, it was always a massive amount. It didn't matter if I was nursing him, or it didn't matter what I was giving. It was always a lot. So I liked those big gauzy diapers, those big, huge ones. Those are what I use for burp rags, because you had to wear a tent with that child. People would say, I'm like, you're going to need this because he's probably going to spit up. What I learned to do with him, by the way, was not burp him right away. Give him time to digest a little bit, and then he'd be fine. But if you pick him up and start doing like, oh, you're supposed to burp him right after they're done. No, not with him. Don't. He'll lose most of his food. Because I think he'd get like his big air. I don't know. That's just the way he was. And so I would say, here, you're going to need this. No, it'll be fine. A little spit up. You don't understand. It's not a little. It's pretty much most everything he ate if you're not careful. So, but I can also use them to drain grease from fried foods. So yeah, at any rate, I'll do uh I've actually used brown paper bags for like let's say, absorbing grease, and even newspapers, depending on what I'm using it for. I don't use the newspapers for food, but I'll use the newspapers for like maybe either cleaning up a greasy mess, or like when I'm treating the top of my wood stove, I'll use newspapers for that, because I'm going to throw them in the fire, and that way I don't have to worry about greasing up the rags and then trying to get all the grease out. So what else here? Let me continue on. What are some other things? So I talked about venom napkins, and then Ziploc baggies, plastic wrap, foil. So instead of cooking anything with foil, using an aluminum, then it's always here's where I like having aluminum on hand, is I do use it in the bottom of my toaster oven, because I use my toaster oven more than my big oven when it comes to using an electric oven. So I like to keep some down in there, because it makes it a lot easier to clean that out. And then once in a rare occasion, I have a piece that I may have to throw on top of something I'm baking, And I just keep reusing that same piece, and that is just if it looks like it's browning too fast, turn the heat down, may throw that on top, but I know it needs to bake. But I very rarely do that. I when it comes to things that need to be covered when they're baked the whole time, then I have several different types of casserole dishes that have their own lids. So glass lids, all of them have glass lids. So I have like the Farberware, and I show this in one of those videos down below. Stainless steel pans, it's more like a casserole dish. It's round, but it's bigger than like the Corelle glass ones, and it has its own glass pans. But I'll use those Corelle ones with their own lids, anything like that. So I do not have to cover it with foil if it's something that needs to be covered when it's baking. Or also, I almost always forget to mention the enamelware that came with my solar ovens. So I have those too, and they have their own lids. I do a lot of cooking in that. I try to usually reserve those for only using with my solar oven because the enamelware does wear out. It kind of chips and then it starts getting rusty and then it gets a hole and then eventually I have to throw it out. So I try to reserve that just for using with the solar oven because they're black, but they're not heavy, you know. So they're going to heat up quicker and they're going to stay hot, because of the color and because of the the thinner aspect of it than maybe cast iron. So let's see if I had a few other things. Um, what did I say? Okay, I said t-shirt rags. Obviously for, dishes, the reusable kind. Duh. You guys know what those are. They're going to be your glass china, your stoneware, whatever you typically use. For dishes, for just like, plates, I have mostly Corelle. I love Corelle because it withstands my harsh treatment pretty well. And then glasses for cups, obviously. That's easy stuff. I mean, at least that's something most people have it entirely replaced with single-use items, unlike everything else. And just like I said before, it's funny how upset people get about certain reusable items that are cloth, and they'll get really upset about it, like angry. It's like, "Why are you getting angry? I'm just sharing with you what I'm doing." And I think it's because we've done the disposable thing for so long when it comes to those, that people just think that's, it's uncivilized, or they just simply forget the fact that cloth was originally what was used for most of these things. Cloth table napkins, cloth feminine napkins, cloth diapers, cloth wipes. So there was a lot of other things people used as well, but cloth was one of the big ones people used, and they washed them and reused them. And then paper came along, convenience came along and started replacing all those things a little at a time, till that's all that people know. And now it's like they can't cloth? People ever use cloth? People did use cloth? Really? Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. And so now what you're seeing is people are now trying to switch back to the old ways of doing things, and yet it gets people really upset. Well, I think it's a great thing, but I still think it's a good idea to keep the single use convenient stuff on hand. I think it's an incredibly good idea. You just never know when you may need those things. And so I'm not telling anyone that you're wrong, you're bad if you have plastic wrap and aluminum foil and, you know, toilet paper and paper towels. Obviously not. Okay. And on top of the fact, like I shared in that video that published on Friday, which was from one of my previous lives here, is that you also have to start somewhere. If you're trying to make those changes to be more self-sufficient and more frugal, you can't, no one in their right mind, I'll put it that way, or that's not so entirely full of pride, is going to expect you to be exactly like them and do everything they're doing, even though it took them years and years, little steps at a time, and getting over certain squeamishness to be able to make all those changes. And so I, for one, don't expect people to do that because I know how long it took me to make all these changes. Now, the funny thing with cloth diapers, I always knew before I had kids that's what I was going to do. I always knew that. That was already set in stone with me. I'd already dealt with cloth diapers, working in a daycare and different things that I wasn't worried about it. It was all those other things that took quite a number of years to realize that, oh, could be doing cloth with this. Oh, can I handle that? That sounds really scary. That sounds really nasty. But eventually I made the switch. But again, we still keep a good amount of toilet paper on hand. And be it for guests or be it for Patrick, who hasn't made that switch to cloth. But that's okay because just what I've done alone has saved us so much money in toilet paper. And then you get the people that want to argue. It's like, well, that doesn't really save money because you got to figure in your electricity. Yep, done that. Been there, done that. You could do it yourself. And honestly, there's something too, is that for each individual person, that cost could be very different. Maybe some people's electricity and water, the cost for electricity and water is a lot more than maybe for us. So cloth is risky though, but you know what? So is toilet paper. It's all risky, no matter how you look at it. Like people talk about all the chemicals that are in toilet paper, even without the colored toilet paper like they used to make back in the 70s and I think 80s. I don't know when it was they stopped making that. Um, you're taking a risk no matter what. You're taking a risk if you're only going to depend on toilet paper and then one day the store is out of toilet paper because everybody's stocked up on it, because there was a run on toilet paper and you don't have any. That's taking a risk. You can always go with a bidet. You can put the expense in. There's cheap forms of bidets. But anyway, I didn't mean to get back into that particular topic. But I've heard people say cloth is risky. No, it's not. Not if you wash it right. And it doesn't even have to be that hard. And anything, if you're worried about it being sterile, can be boiled. You can have a special pot just for boiling. I don't do that. I'm not worried about it. You can hang things in the sun, and if you get sun, unlike here, um, the sun will sanitize cloth. So it's not anything to be afraid of. But again, I'm not here to judge or tell anyone that's what they should do. Everyone should be looking at options that are going to work best for them, but also not be afraid, even if they've made that switch to complete, cloth or um, non-paper, non-foil, paper items, whatever. Did I already say that? Even if you've made that complete switch and you're not using any single use items, it's still a wise thing to have those on hand. Whatever it is. And again, there's no judgment on my part. And I think this is where people get angry. You'll have people that will make excuses, and maybe their excuses are entirely valid. I would understand that. But then on the other hand, you have people that make excuses because they simply don't want to do it because they're afraid. They're afraid of the work involved. They're afraid of the ick factor. Believe me, I get that. I get that. I was there too. Even though for some reason the diaper thing never scared me. It was everything else. Well, not the table napkins. That was just funny to me that it took me so long to go, why do I keep buying paper napkins when I can just easily make table napkins out of all this fabric I have on hand? Have all this cotton fabric. Now I've switched to, I still have the cotton um, table napkins that I've made. I still have those. I keep those in this drawer over here because this room here gets used for when we have bigger gatherings. So becomes our secondary dining room. But then on the table, the ones that get used the most are the ones I made from linen, the linen scraps from making my skirts and whatnot. And I love those. But those are what gets used predominantly. But guess what? I still have paper napkins down in there too, down in that cabinet. And we keep some out the other piece of property where we have our uh, our barbecues, just like the paper plates and the paper cups. So again, there's a place, don't get yourself so caught up in being, well, I'm never ever going to use single use items, that you don't keep some of that stuff on hand, because there can and will be situations that are going to come up that you're going to wish you had that stuff on hand. Some of it's going to be, it will just be convenience. Sort of like me not wanting to worry about getting my dishes back when I need them and use them a lot. So let me send this food home with someone in something that's, that they can throw away and I don't have to worry about getting it back. There's all kinds of good reasons why you can keep that stuff on hand and not feel guilty about it. And if you're running low, go ahead and buy some more foil. Go ahead and buy some more plastic wrap. Go ahead and buy another package of toilet paper and paper towels and even disposable diapers for your babies or grandbabies if you need to keep them on hand. Because you just never know when that's going to be important to have. Okay. So um there can be a good balance. And I think that's where we kind of get you just got a commercial for Botox, Mr. Rain. I'm sorry, Mr. Rain. Anyway, there was something else I was going to say about that. Oh, what was it? Um, oh darn, and it's not something I wrote down. But ah, gosh, I'm sorry, I just totally forgot. But anyway, I think I'm just going to find myself repeating the same words over and over again. That don't feel guilty about what you choose to do one way or the other. If you're all cloth, don't let people make you feel bad or dirty or gross because you're doing what you do. Because I get enough of that on my end ever since the cloth wipe video came out. People just get so mad and they want to just cuss at you and say the meanest things. But really, what it is they're mad because you made a choice to do something that they don't like. So don't let those people get you down, but also if you haven't made that switch, don't let people who are doing that kind of thing like me get you down either or make you feel guilted into doing it. You got to do everything one step at a time and just remember there's benefits to both sides of things. It's kind of like, especially these days, owning a home or renting. When I was in school, I remember, in our home economics, was it home economics? Is that right? Anyway, it was, when we're talking more, it was a side of it where we were talking more about financial things, following the stock market and different things and renting versus buying a home. And we were presented with the pros and cons on each side. Well, at that time, to me, I was like, well, boy, it sure sounds like the pros are at buying your own place and owning your own house. But in recent years, with the cost of housing being what it is, and yeah, I mean, I think a person has to weigh that out according to their own needs, their situation, what the housing costs are there, and their abilities. Because here's the thing: if you are renting, at least you have if you have a good landlord, if things break down in your home, they're not your fault, then the landlord is responsible of making sure those things get taken care of. If your roof starts leaking, that's not your responsibility, it's your landlord's responsibility. So again, if you have a good landlord. So, I know people that are renting right now, and that's probably the best choice for them because they wouldn't afford to be able to have all these things fixed, plus have to pay for the house insurance and the this and the that and the maintenance to keep up on all that stuff. Do they even have the time to do all that? So and I know some people that follow me are renting. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and you should never feel guilty about that. But we live in a society where people want to make everybody feel guilty because they're not doing things the way they're doing it. And that shouldn't be the way it is. Am I glad that we own a house and that we're debt free? Yes. We worked hard to get here, though. There's a lot of hard work. And guess what? It's still a lot of hard work, which thus is, like I was saying earlier, some of the reasons why today I just had one of those dark days because it's like my whole backyard is just a mud hole and I can't do anything about it because the rains just won't stop. In fact, we got a weather alert for flooding. Yeah, duh. Yeah, everything is pretty much a lake out there, not just a mud hole, but a lake. You can't really do anything about that. You just got to do the best to try to keep things clean and keep the dogs from tracking mud in the house. And my shoes always get taken off just outside the door, but the dogs don't wear shoes. And even if they did, I don't know that I could teach them how to take their shoes off when they came in. And I haven't been able to teach them how to wipe their feet off when they come in. So Mr. Rain says, it's funny how we used to throw away. Mr. Rain, by the way, for those who don't know, is my husband, Patrick. It's take off the dog's feet. I thought about that, Patrick. It's funny how we used to throw away glass jars from products we bought from the store in the 70s. Now we get a glass pickle, olive, or pepper jar, and we won the lottery. Oh my goodness, so many doggone jars. And guess what? Yes, they're reusable, and you can vacuum seal them in them if you get a vacuum chamber or have some other means, or if the jar, the top of it, because some of them are actually the lid and the mouth of the jar actually the same size as a mason jar, be it wide or regular. Then you can use your standard like food saver top and your brake bleeder pump or even your food saver machine and just vacuum seal those jars like that. But I know Deb has one of the Patrick's chambers and she's always going on about how much she loves it. But yes, the vacuum chamber, I use that when I'm wanting to vacuum seal those, well, whatever jar will fit into it. But usually it's like the green olive jars. What else? Are the artichoke, the bigger ones like you can get at Costco. They're in those same kind of jars. They're just right to fit in the quart size chamber. And they got the lug lid. You just kind of put it on there a little bit, put it down in there, put the lid to the chamber on and use your brake bleeder pump and get a good seal on that. It works really good. I use that a lot for nuts and stuff. What else do I use it? Well, I use those jars quite a bit though mostly for tincturing these days. But yes, you can vacuum seal in them and store all kinds of food. So I'm going to see if I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to look and see if there was any questions or anything before I finish out this topic. Doesn't mean you have to stop talking about these things. I just want to make sure there isn't anything important I might have missed. My mints are the first thing up. Yeah, those mints are starting to pop up everywhere. My valerian and marshmallow are coming up all over out there. Let's see. The old ones, not the new ones yet. I'm not seeing new ones coming up from seed yet, but they will. It's too wet out there for it to do that. Am I the only one that has rewash rags and also throwaway rags? Oh, probably no, you're not actually, Linda. I know some people that have rags that they will throw away. And I actually do that's the reason why I was going to say this earlier. So this is the reason why I like having a massive pile of the t-shirt rags. And I don't throw away old t-shirts because what's going to happen is I may have to use these for grease. Of course, I can, a good hot boil and with dish soap will get the grease out. But a lot of times Patrick uses those t-shirt rags out in his shop for things that just won't wash out no matter what you do. So those get thrown away. They have to, and that's fine. So that's why I like having a big pile of them on hand. And even like dish rags, maybe those dish rags were once hand towels that were getting kind of wore on the corner and got cut down in dish rag size, and then those start getting holes in them. Well, those might be the thing I use for that final use to clean up the grease out of something where I don't want to use a t-shirt rag or paper towel, and then that gets thrown away. See, I save pie tins and my daughter throws them out. Let's see. Now, Saffron Bay, I do sell marshmallow seed if you're looking for seed. I have lots of marshmallow seed. And since my marshmallow is acclimated to our area, I would think it would grow anywhere. But it took me a while to get it to acclimate to here. because of our cooler, very, very well, it's a marsh. It's a marshmallow, so it does like a lot of water. It just doesn't necessarily like all the cool, but it does really good here now. It just took me a while to get it going. Oh, so yeah, my seeds, speaking of, so the 3 herb seeds I are, they're perennials I already have going, but like the echinacea, I always try to start new ones every year because I always seem to lose some. I'll get at least one echinacea will come back, which I did see signs of life on my echinacea. I think on both of them that are in the back. But those are doing beautiful. I just am surprised at how well they're doing because echinacea doesn't have the best germination rate, and these seeds are going to be 2 years old because I didn't collect any seed last year. So they're doing great. And then the arnica popping up all over the place in their little pot, and the lovage is doing really good. So I really only want for the lovage, maybe in the echinacea, a couple of plants. So whatever excess I have, I probably will give away to some locals, or maybe even pot them and sell them. We'll see. And then the arnica, I haven't decided yet. I'm going to get a lot of it though, and I'm not planting it all here. I'm thinking about planting some at the property down the road if I have a space, or on our mountain property, because arnica likes to grow up in the mountain, but it likes a lot of sun. So I'd have to find an area where it's clear and just kind of maybe toss the seed down in there and see if it will just take off. Because arnica is probably one of the most expensive herbs to buy. If you're not, it grows easily enough in the right places, but it can be, and it will reseed and do great. In fact, I see a whole bunch of arnica coming up, and I think some of it is that fell from seed out in the back garden. Because I did look, and I'm like, yeah, it once you get it acclimated, it does really well. So yeah, I would like to see these go somewhere else. But yeah, I wanted to grow that one because it is one of the more expensive ones to buy dried. It is pretty expensive. But for as easy as it is to grow, and it is a um what's the word? Um I can't think of the word. Dandelions, sunflowers, feverfew. It's like the aster. It's in the aster family. So it's going to grow great. You even get seeds very similar to like dandelion, kind of turns into a puff. So your lovage hasn't sprouted yet. I'm still hoping. Well, now, Deb, my lovage, I don't know. Well, where you're at, you probably start everything outside and you're fine. But it is first of all, it came from my own lovage plant. And so it's acclimated, but I do have it in the house, the seed that I'm starting. And then, since we're talking about gardening, I'll probably talk about this in my next week's This and That, not the one that's publishing tomorrow, because obviously I've already shot that one. But I did get out in the greenhouse and start in some of those pots I got ready. I started some orange calendula, some new seed that I bought. I wanted to try. These ones look big. I used to have a really big orange calendula and from the seed I got from it never did good. So I'm hoping this one will give me continuous seed, each year. And some nasturtium and some basil. That's what I started in the greenhouse. Those should be fine out there, even with as cool as it's been here. And I'll probably be starting some more stuff out there soon. I find I like starting my corn in the greenhouse and then transplanting it. I tried so many different ways and found I just put it right in the pot with a whole bunch of other corn. I don't separate them out. It's pointless. People say you can't transplant your corn. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And they don't have to be in special little tiny pots. So I just put one of those, longer pots that I can put in the window of the greenhouse. Just put the corn all through there. And then just dig the plants up carefully one by one and stick them in the ground when it's warm enough outside. But they need a place to get started. And then when it comes to squash, like pumpkin, butternut, and even zucchini, I find it best to start it in the greenhouse like mid-April and then in early May, then direct seed some. Because each year I never know which is going to do better. Some years the stuff I started in the greenhouse does better than the stuff I direct seed, and some years it's the other way around. So I do both when it comes to the squash. But that's here in rain country. And if my mic was loud enough, you guys would probably be hearing the rain just coming down hard on our metal roof. But this ceiling in here is kind of high and very well insulated, so it's not that loud. If you're standing outside, it probably would be, though. Can't remember what part of the country. If I'm not sure who you're talking to. I know if you're talking to Deb, she's in Florida. But yeah, it is definitely. See, for us, the old saying, like where I grew up in Wenatchee, March actually did come in like a lion and go out like a lamb. It really did. It would be like just would be windy. And it's like everything about where I grew up fit into all of those. April showers bring May flowers. March comes in like a lion, goes out like a everything. It was, you had your distinct seasons. Here, March comes in like a torrential downpour and goes out like one too. Comes in like a river, goes out like a flood. There we go. That works too. Oh dear. So did I have any other questions? Let me see here. Remember, people, if you got any questions for me, put them in all caps. By the way, at this point, since I've gone through my topic, I think I said everything I planned on saying. If we get cut off, I won't come back onto the second stream, but I'm happy to stay here and hang out for anyone who wants to or has any questions. I did have a couple other things I wanted to say. So one thing I learned today, another disappointing fact about YouTube, is that even though they take a third, at least I'm hoping that's all they're taking. I'm wondering now if it's more. I might need to pay closer attention, but I never can tell. I don't know what the total revenue is off of my videos, but I know they take 30%, not a full third. However, I assume that when it came to super chats, super thanks, that the ratio would be the same. They take 30%. Oh, absolutely not. They take more than 50%. They take close to 60%. 50 to 60% of your super chats and super thanks. So though I very much appreciate it, like Joni usually comes in, not every time, but a lot of times she'll come in and do a super thanks or a super chat. Sadly, out of that $10 that she donates, I get $4.50. So not even 50%. So if people and I don't ask for donations, I never do that. However, because there are people that do like to do that, I like to let people know this, that if you really want to donate, the better way to go about it is to PayPal's the best because they don't take a cut if you send it like you're sending money to a friend or family, and then the person you're sending it to gets 100%. If you go through something like, I don't know what Substack is. I know they have, because I haven't had anybody donate money through there, so I have no idea. But I still don't even know what it is through Patreon, but I know they take a far smaller cut than YouTube does. And so I have people that just have a monthly rate. They donate, and some people come and go according to what they can afford, which is cool either way. But at the same time, I'm not asking for donations. I'm putting that information out there for people who like or are able to do that, and they simply want to, even if it's just a one-time thing. Super chats, it's terrible the cut they take. So if you would rather see the people that you're donating money to get at least a larger portion of that or all of it, there are better ways. So, PayPal, is the best, because if you don't send it as like you're buying merchandise, send it as like you're just sending money to a friend, then the person you're sending it to gets 100%. So, um, but yeah, Patreon. So we have Patreon. I have Substack. Those are some other ways. I'm assuming Substack doesn't take the same kind of cut that YouTube does. I couldn't believe that when I saw this today, because I was suspicious. I'm like, something doesn't look right, because especially it's more noticeable on this channel because it's such a smaller channel, and I only make $1.50 to about $2 on ads for my lives, no matter how long I'm sitting here. But if I know that somebody sent me a super chat, and yet I only made a total of $6.42 for that live show, I'm thinking, well, that doesn't make sense, because I know that somebody paid me $10 in a super chat. I should have a little more than that if I'm making $1.50 to $2 per show. Why is it only $6.42? So then I got to look, and some of that stuff, they make it really difficult to read and understand. And then but you're like, they're taking more than 50% of the super chats. It's crazy. Hi, Tyler. See, what does it say? I haven't been single in 48 years, and Terry says I'm not reusable either. So oh, well, especially after she's had to be kicking your rear end so many times. I can imagine. Probably not much of it left. Uh, yeah, it is. It's getting tougher every day. And that, which is part of the thing. It's like, and that's where it's like, again, people, I just, covet your prayers on this, because it's like, um, yeah, yes, you just use my regular raincountryhomestead@gmail.com. And again, I'm not asking for donations, but for those who want to do that, that's the best way to go. If you have PayPal, you just send it to raincountryhomestead@gmail.com. Just make sure you select, that you're sending money to a friend. And then PayPal doesn't take a cut at all. Not at all. That's, so whenever I've donated money, like there was another channel a few years back that was, that was in need. They had something, their basement got flooded, and they lost a lot of stuff. And I wanted to donate. I didn't use any kind of GoFundMe. I didn't use that. I just sent it to them via PayPal, sent it as a friend, because I knew they would get it all that way. So, yeah, not even starvation wages. Yep. Well, okay, so here was the other thing. So today I noticed they put out another creator video, for creators, for content creators, again, telling us that we're stupid and they need our help, or we can make more money if they had our help. But their help always means we're making less every time, and that they're making more. And so twice, I think it's happened now in the past year, where I have had to opt out of YouTube automatically putting mid-roll ads on all of my videos. If you don't opt out of it, they'll just automatically start putting mid-roll ads, and they could be 1-2 minutes apart. So it's like, really? I got to do this again? And it's like, well, you need to let us do it. And so they got this big long explanation of, and so, and I don't even listen to it, because it's so stupid. It's like, you try to listen to it. I just go to the video so I can read the comments and realize that, yep, it's not just me. And somebody else said something like, what I hear is, well, you're not doing it right. You just need to let us do it so that you can make more money, when really it's all about them making more money. And so they're getting most of the profits now, yet they want us to keep working harder and doing more, and I keep getting them pushing me to set up memberships. So I have a members only, where people have to pay to watch my videos. They keep pushing me to do that. They keep pushing me to put mid-roll ads, and they keep pushing me to do other things so they can make more money. And none of it helps me. Every change they make to the algorithms and to how the ads work is for their benefit, as the rest of us keep losing more and more money. So, yep. Not even slave labor now. You think, I can sit here for 2 hours and make maybe $2. That's $1 an hour. I don't know, maybe it's better than slave labor. Maybe. It's hard to say. Don't yeah, what was that? YouTube is learning from the IRS. How much do you make? Send that in. Right. Pretty much. But the problem is they're not making as much money off me now because they've hidden so much. Okay, you look at it this way. I currently have on my main channel 412,000 subscribers. Do you know how many regular viewers I have at this point? About 1,500 to 2,000. So I have the same amount of regular viewers that I had when I had maybe 8 to 10,000 subscribers. And it wasn't like that over a year ago. I had about 3 to 4 times more regular viewers. You know why? Well, and it is common for, you to have a lot of subscribers, but you're only gonna get a small portion of those people that actually watch your videos or watch all your videos. And that's just the way it is. But for such a low percentage, according to how many subscribers I have, that's really low. And every channel that has from all across the board is experiencing the same thing. Well, not every channel. The ones that the YouTube gods have decided to bless, and it doesn't matter their size, just like the ones that they've decided to steal our subscribers by deleting them, hide our content. They show it to some people, but not to all. But it's just like, I would be happy if just the people who subscribe to my channel could actually see my content on a regular basis instead of having it hidden from them. It's one thing to hide it from the general public, where maybe you don't get a lot of new followers. It's a whole thing entirely to hide it from the people who subscribe to you because they like your content and they want to see it. And they're wondering why they can't see it. So not only does the content creator lose out, so do the people who are following these different channels. And I know I've talked about this stuff. I keep talking about this stuff, but it's just that I keep seeing more new things. So that video coming up today in my, it probably came out yesterday, but I try to stay away from YouTube as far as the business side of things on Saturday, since that's that's my day off. That's my day of rest. So this video is in there and I'm just like, oh, another stupid thing, or here's how the mid-roll ads work, and here's what you can do to earn us more money. They don't say to earn us more money, but that's what they really mean. They'll say, oh, you could earn so much more money if you did this. That's the thing you always get in your content creator thing. You could earn so much more money if you had memberships. Go ahead and explore that today. Get set up today. You can earn so much more money if you blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dismiss, dismiss, dismiss. Shut up and leave me alone, you guys. Just take it back to the way it used to be. It was good. Everybody was happy. My followers were happy because they could actually see my content if they wanted to, that was actually showing up for them. I was happy because the followers that wanted to see my content were seeing my content, and I was getting far more views. Anyway, so that's another area when I was talking about needing prayer. That's another area I really, and I appreciate my husband. He sat, because he knows this morning I was just sitting there just feeling real dark, and he sat down and he, laid his hand on me and started praying. And I appreciate him doing that. And I probably don't say it enough, Patrick. It means a lot and I need it. But yeah, for the rest of you too, Patrick and I both could really use prayer on direction. I keep wondering, maybe God's trying to tell me that I'm supposed to go in a different direction and it's time to give up on the YouTube thing. But I don't feel like that's the right thing to do. I really don't want to do that, but I also don't want it to be just my flesh. And that speaking, that because I know that if God has something else in store for us, then it'll be for the best and it'll be good and it'll be better. I just don't know. And that's where it gets hard. It's like, that's what it's just like this big question mark. Is it, do we just, we keep going, we keep pushing ahead. And I do plan on keep pushing ahead until maybe the Lord just puts a wall and says, nope, that's it. Here's the stop sign, and that means absolutely not, you're done. Um, and I know that he'll do that if it's the right thing, but still, it's like, is there something else I'm supposed to be doing? Or maybe I'm supposed to keep doing YouTube and all these other things, but is there something different I'm supposed to be doing? And it's like, well, okay, what are the things that make money on YouTube? Okay, talking about politics and um scaring people to death. Nope, nope, not me. I'm not doing that. Not saying that I won't bring up a little bit of politics or a little bit of, hey, this could happen, but I don't want my channel to be about getting people to be scared of everything. That, okay, for some people that might help them start wanting to be more self-sufficient and start building their food storage and getting themselves out of debt. But that's not the way I like to approach things, because that works for a few people, but not most. And I don't think it's very loving. And so, no, that's not the direction I'll take. So it's like, okay, check that one off the list. That's a big no. Talking politics and pushing my political point of view. Nope, not going to do it. I might share a little bit here again, might share a little bit here and there, for people who are just curious, but I'm not going to push my political point of view and try to make everybody feel guilty because they're not like me. Right, Sandra, you're right. And it's not just the stress about YouTube. Some days I stress about it more than others. Today's one of those days. It's just that it's the stress about everything. And like I said, this time of the year is always the hardest because of all the constant rain. It's dark, it's dreary, it's depressing, everything's muddy. I can't get out there in the sun and start planting stuff, which always brings joy. The sun is a great mood lifter. Working in soil is a great mood lifter because those enzymes in the soil that release the endorphins. But I can't do that. And I know there'll be good days. Tomorrow could be this absolutely amazingly warm, beautiful day, and I could get out there and do stuff. And it could be completely different tomorrow. It's just today's not one of those days. And so it's hard not to, when you can't go outside and do anything, and you're just kind of like, you know, and you're seeing what YouTube's doing because you're in here trying to work on your stuff, and you're like, what's the point? But I'm like, well, so I didn't shoot a video today. I didn't do a second live. I tried to pick away at one of Patrick's videos, which can take a long time. But I'm having a hard time just even getting into doing that. But I'm like, I got to do my main live. I have to, because I need it. And the reason I need it is because of you guys. Because you guys are a blessing. Yeah, ask Patrick. I was telling him earlier, I said, I know I need to be in there. I know just being in there and interacting with real people, because they're good people, and I know they care. I know it's what I needed, and it is. And I knew long before I came on here, I was going to end up crying at some point. Okay, I'm sorry. Ugh. Let me see if I had something else I wanted to say. Oh, okay, here's the other thing that did not help my mood is that, I'm catching up on the comments I didn't see yesterday. And I'll never understand the people that they'll follow you. They'll agree with a bunch of stuff, and that's fine. But here's the thing. I don't mind if people disagree. I know everybody in the chat must have something that they would disagree with me on. But you know what? They don't care. And I don't care. I don't care that we might think different. But there'll be that one person that will come in and say, "Well, normally I agree with you on everything, but," and instead of just like politely explaining their point of view, which I would be totally cool with, they want to tear you down and make you feel like you are just a terrible person because you used Dawn dish liquid in a really bad flea situation. Well, let me, coming back to that, I know that Dawn dish liquid isn't the most natural thing. And I think I stressed in that, did say that, this is, for serious situations, this is what I do. But it's not like I rely on that. It's like because my dog hardly ever gets fleas. But if you want to, do I don't think the medication you put on your dogs and cats, the front line and all that, I don't think that's safe either. I'd rather use Dawn. I think it's safer than that. But instead of just sharing, this person sharing their point of view, they wanted to tear me to shreds. They wanted to yell at me by using all caps and making me feel like I was a bad person because of Dawn dish liquid, for crying out loud. And you know what? I don't have to put up with that. Now, I don't mind people having different opinions and sharing it and being polite. I'll leave it because everybody has a right to share their opinion. But if people are going to be jerks about it, you're gone. I don't care how long you've been following me. So, as you can see, my attitude probably isn't the best today. I mean, I was already just feeling exhausted because, like I said, yesterday was Ron's birthday party and it was busy and it was tiring and there were kids everywhere. And I love it. I get down there, I'll get down there and play with the kids, and they're all wanting you to bounce the balloon back to them. But boy, I realize how much more exhausting it is at my age than it was when I was in my 30s. Tyler, and I'm proof of Heidi's patience. I'm still here. Of course you are, Tyler. You're never a jerk. You're just funny. But anyway, what's I saying? Besides that, but yeah, my attitude could be better. But that's the other thing too. If someone comes in and they're being a jerk, and I just know that my attitude's not right, I part of one of the massive reasons I delete the comment right away. I won't even read the whole thing. When I see how they've typed it, when I see their sentence structure, I see that they're just being rude right out of the box, I delete it. And it's not just because they're being rude. It's because if I'm in the kind of mood I was in this morning when I started reading that, I don't trust myself to not be gracious in my response. So I delete it to avoid me saying something stupid on my own part because I'm not perfect. I sometimes can clap back at people and I'm not always, sometimes they deserve every bit of what they get, but sometimes I'm out of line and I can admit that. And I've had to apologize a couple times. So the older we get, the less time we have for stupid people. Absolutely. You know what I wish in comments? I wish that in the chat, I wish it was like comments where you could give somebody thumbs up and hearts and all that. And yes, if I want a condescending personal attack, I'll turn on CNN or MSNBC. No kidding. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sorry I turned into a little crybaby. I knew I would though, because it's just I'm like, man, I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna talk to these people that are so kind and patient with me. And I'm gonna start crying. Oh, so yes. Yeah, I don't that and that's the other, but that's true. I mean, Deb, the truth is that I put up with enough garbage. So that's the other thing. I put up with enough garbage that I don't have to put up with that. I don't have to put up with it on my channel, which is an extension of my home. And I wouldn't go into your home and start talking to you that way. So What? You're not a robot? Oh, really? I'm not. For reals, Tammy. We just turned on the air conditioner. 82 degrees outside. Well, of course, you are in Texas. So let's see. It protects your soul too to get rid of the negative comment. Right, Linda. Right. Protects your soul too. Absolutely. And not even let the poison start in your heart. And unfortunately, I already kind of did, but I'll get over it. I'll get over it quickly enough because the comment's gone. It'll be forgotten. I won't remember who said. In fact, I don't even remember what the name was of the person who said it. I won't. So if they come back and say something nice, I won't even associate it with that rude comment because I've already forgotten who it was. And that's the other thing I like about being able to do that. It's like just make it go away because I don't want to know who it is. I don't want to have animosity towards this person if they come back. I want to just forget about it. It might kind of sting right now the way they spoke to me, but I'll forget about it. I might not forget about the comment or some of the words that were used, but I'll forget who it was, and I already have, so that's cool. Why do people have to be so awful? You know, I think that it's the one of the worst parts about social media. Social media, obviously, like here, and being able to put out content has its benefits for certain. It also gives us the ability to see photos and that we may not otherwise see of, family members that live across, the other side of the country or on the other side of the world. It definitely has its benefits. But the problem is there's this physical separation. So those same people that talk to you that way on social media would never talk that way to your face, or they certainly wouldn't come into your home and talk to you that way, either because they're absolute 100% coward, or there's something that's different when you're talking to someone face to face. And there's something that's real there. You're both real. You're interacting with each other. You're hearing the intonation, and you're talking and you're conversing and you're sharing and saying, you know what? We've had people that we disagreed with, we could sit down and have good conversations with and talk about our disagreements. Do sometimes things still kind of get possibly heated, be it family member, friends, or whatever? Well, yeah, but eventually you get over it. You have a chance to really just kind of understand and feel and hear where a person's coming from, rather than just, well, I'm going to take all my toys and leave the sandbox because I don't like your point of view. Eye contact. What do I use to wash my dishes? Well, I don't use Dawn. Dawn dish liquid only gets reserved for cleaning very, very greasy stains out of fabric. Because it's really great for that. I found Dawn dish liquid works best for that. I'm sure there's other ones. Like somebody said Palmolive, the original blend. I think I've tried that before and it didn't work. Dawn's always been the one that I used for grease stains. I don't the blue one. The original, I'll put it that way. But for washing dishes, though, I can and have used my homemade vinegar. Just try it out. Just the vinegar in the water. And it works. I've used my homemade multi-purpose cleaning powder. It works good. Cleans well. But here's the one area I will unabashedly admit that I am a bit spoiled. I do like having suds. And, I've tried like the Dr. Bronner's and the Dr. Jacobs soaps, and they'll suds for about 5 seconds. They'll suds up as you're filling the sink for about 5 seconds, but it doesn't stay. So I use the most natural dish soaps I can find. None of them are perfect, but I do like, what is the brand that used to be better? It's not as good as it used to be as far as natural. Mrs. Meyer's. They have some really great smells. But I've also used the 7th generation and Azure Standard. I don't like their scents as much as the Mrs. Meyer's, but you'll get a better deal. And it's probably is more natural going with the 7th generation or the Azure Standard brand that they carry. In fact, for my next order, I've got a gallon size bottle of that, jug of that coming. I think it's a gallon, if I remember correctly. So not as natural as it could be. Natural would be going with just the homemade vinegar, or, the powder I was talking about. But I am a little spoiled. I tend to like them. I tend to like them suds. Call me what you want. That's my cheat there. And I'll use them as long as I'm able. But I do try other things just to see if they'll work. Another thing, those other things do clean the dishes just fine. They all do. They all work. If Paul could see the church today, we'd be getting a letter. We all be getting a letter. We all be. We be getting letter. For sure. I find living in a different geographical area, not error, there can be different way of, because of experience. Absolutely. And I love the difference and the opportunity to show. Right. And that's the other reason why I like, doing what I do, is because not everybody lives in Florida or Texas. You guys can just throw stuff in the dirt and it grows, right? Isn't it that easy? I know it's not that easy. I'm just giving you a hard time. Or even Missouri for that matter. Some people live in the UK that have a very similar climate to ours, though not quite as wet. And they appreciate that. But or maybe they just live in a cooler climate and, a more northern climate, and they appreciate the information I have to offer there, or somebody else. So anyway, there is a soaping plants out there. Yes, I know there is. There's actually quite a few herbs that have saponins in them. And that's what, I know there's such things as soap nuts. One time I tried to plant, I was going to grow soapwort and try that. However, whatever seed I got was not soapwort. And then I never tried again because I'm like, whatever. Because I can make homemade vinegar and it works. I can wash laundry with it if I have to. I can wash dishes with it if I have to. I can clean windows with it. I can clean floors. I can clean the carpets. So Mr. Rain has to be nice to Heidi. Nice. Heidi has her skillets. I do. See, I can't reach you guys with a skillet. So, I shouldn't have said that. Darn. Now you're all going to misbehave. What do I use in the dishwasher? Well, first of all, I only use the dishwasher once or twice a year. And the only reason I even do that is just to run it. Because sometimes certain things like that, appliances, if you never run them, it's actually not good for them to just sit. And so I'll wait till I have a really good excuse. Oh, here's a good excuse. I could stand sterilizing this or whatever. Maybe I just got, actually, I don't need any more jars, but something. But I can use my multi-purpose powder. I have my multi-purpose cleaning powder. The only reason, I've tried it once or twice. The only reason I haven't been using it is because I hardly ever use my dishwasher. That I still have some Costco brand, or is it Costco brand? Whatever you can get at Costco. They're like tablets or whatever. They're kind of got a dissolvable coating on them, and you stick that in there. It's going to take me forever to finally use all those up. So once those are used up, after that, then I just use my multi-purpose cleaning powder. Now, some people who have tried that in their dishwasher found that it left spots, like your little white spots. Well, in that case, you just got to make sure that you use vinegar in your rinse cycle. And that should help get rid of the spots. So I just So I've done that where I've used the powder and then put the homemade vinegar in the little, you know, the other thing that pops open during the rinse cycle, whatever that thing's called, and put the homemade vinegar in there for the rinse cycle. And that should get rid of all that. You drink of water. Our Missouri dirt is pretty good, but it is rocky. And some places have a lot of clay. I think you're going to get that no matter where you go. You're going to have areas that are going to be really rocky and areas, because there's places around here, even here, where, you might dig into an area. It's like, wow, this is nothing but rock. And another area, well, wow, this is nothing but clay. But yeah. So I've got one of the things I need to do if it ever see, that's the other thing too, is when it's rainy like this, I think everybody around here gets like this. You kind of start to feel like, is it ever going to stop? You start to get this feeling like it's going to be like this forever and ever, and it's never going to stop. But it will. And when it does, I need to top off my carrot boxes and out front with the rest of this. We still have some like wood chips and stuff out here. And I got some pots I need to fill up. On the decks, and some other pots I got to, top off so that I can start more things. I'm really looking forward to doing that. And then, of course, getting the potatoes and the snow peas. Those are the first, besides the other seeds that I planted, like herb seeds and whatnot, in the pots and in the greenhouse, the things that are going directly in the ground, the potatoes and the snow peas are the first things to do that. So I'm looking forward to getting those in, and that will be maybe in about, let's see, today's the 23rd, so that puts us a week at the very soonest. And it's going to all depend on the weather. It might not be until closer to April 6th. So hopefully I don't have to wait too much longer after that, but it's all going to be dependent on how much it's still raining. Because I think I know I've shared this with you guys before. I've put snow, even though snow peas can handle temperature wise going into the ground much sooner. If you get them in there too soon here and it still keeps raining like it's doing today, it's like it oversaturates them or something, and they basically drown, and then you have to start all over. The same thing can happen with the beans if you plant beans too early, and even potatoes. Even the potatoes can, which I think is weird because you'll have potatoes that will come up from the year before. But I planted potatoes, when it was like this. And then it had to get like this, like rainy like it is now. And it just drowned my potatoes and they wouldn't grow. And so I had to plant more potatoes. For some reason, the ones that overwinter can handle it. I don't have a clue why that is. Maybe it's just some of them that do, because it's hard to say. I never know how many get left in the ground. And the chickens, since I did the sabbatical rest for my garden last year, the chickens had free range of all those areas. So I have no idea if there were any potatoes that tried to grow and the chickens wouldn't let them grow, other than the ones in the covered area that tried to come up from under the rototiller. And so they were growing out, but because they didn't get enough water and light, they didn't get any. I did try digging them up, and there wasn't much under there. But it was just because they didn't get water. Because it's like, I need to water. I'm not trying to grow anything. You could probably make bricks with your clay. Bricks without straw. Try that one. Try to make bricks without straw. I'm all over here acting like I'm Pharaoh. We're taking away. Some of you know that we started on our third read through of the Bible cover to cover, and we finished Genesis the other night. So we'll be starting chapter 16 of Exodus tonight. So of course that's fresh in the brain, all that. So When life gives you red clay, make brick houses. There you go, Mr. Rain. So anyway, there's really nothing pressing I have to do today. I could go in there and work some more on one of Patrick's videos that I started working on. And by the way, you guys, when you see Patrick's videos, because I spread his out farther, he doesn't shoot as many of them, and because they're a lot of work. I always say like my videos from the time that they were shot, except for the Monday this and that videos. So my pre-recorded videos. The Monday this and that videos were typically shot a Wednesday or Thursday before that Wednesday, where all the other pre-recorded videos could be 6 weeks out. But Patrick's videos, much farther. We're talking sometimes months. So I was thinking of a video I just finished and uploaded the other day of his. By the time it publishes, actually, he shot that one pretty recently, so it might not be too bad. But he's standing outside by the apple tree, and there's like nothing on the apple tree, it's bare. By the time it publishes, that apple tree is probably going to be full of blossoms and maybe some green leaves. So it's going to look like we have this dead apple tree when no, it's just was shot before they just started blooming. So it just so you know, if you're wondering why it's the middle of winter and it's sunny out and Patrick's not wearing a coat, it's probably because that video was shot in summer and vice versa. Because sometimes it can be like 6 months, 6 months before I get to some of his videos or before I actually get around to editing. That's the other thing too. Sometimes I stick his in a special folder and then tend to forget about him. And then when I'm like, oh, I finished all my videos, I'm like, oh, wait, I think Patrick has some. It's like, oh man, this one's been sitting in here, or these, because usually it has several clips, and each clip can be anywhere from a half an hour to an hour long. Yeah. A lot of work. But got to get him out there because Patrick has a lot of he's got a lot of videos that maybe a lot of people would never need, but somebody does. It's like the ones he did years ago on our washer and dryer. Like one was on the dryer, he had to replace the baffles in the dryer. The other one was fixing the washing machine, and we now don't have either one of those because the washing machine finally got to the point where it was beyond fixing. But the one that he did several years ago on fixing the Maytag washing machine, that one still does really good because there's somebody out there that has that same washing machine that's having the same problems, and they were able to fix it. And so I love that. Might not get a lot of views every day all the time, but it's out there for somebody who needs it. And there's some others like that of his. There's a lot of his that may never get viewed again, but some of them, have been helpful, so the long term has been good. And one of Patrick's most viewed videos, it might be the most viewed video, is the one that he did the very first year we got chickens and we had the baby chicks. So it was 2017. And I wasn't wanting to buy one of them plastic feed. We just kind of said, okay, let's go ahead and get these chickens now. They have them and they have Buff Orpingtons, and I knew I wanted them. So we bought them. It's like I didn't want to buy their expensive but cheap, if you know what I mean, plastic chick feeders. And I'm like, I'd rather get something different, but we still need a chick feeder. So Patrick took some cardboard and drilled some holes about that big and made, one of them triangular shaped long chick feeders, and it worked great for as long as they needed it. And once they were outgrown that, it was kind of a little wore out, but it worked. It worked great. That video got so many views. And no, he doesn't have a separate channel. He has he has a separate channel. It's the one he's commenting from, but it only has one video. And that one video is to lead you to the main channel, not this one, the main channel. So all his videos have always gone there. He has several playlists. Like I have a playlist that's just like pretty much all his videos. I have a playlist that's all of his wood miser videos, so anything to do with the sawmill. I have a playlist that's all like heavy equipment, so backhoe, excavator. He doesn't have a video specifically out on the telehandler yet. That's still a fairly new piece of equipment, but you'll see it show up in a few videos. In fact, the one I just uploaded has that. He did something with that. Don't want to give it all away. Um, and then I think I have a few other, like maybe I have all his auto repair type videos in one playlist, but I'm not sure. I don't remember now. But yeah. So we decided initially it'd just be best. And at this point, it would take so long to build up his channel, especially the way things are on YouTube, that it just wouldn't be worth it. Question: when I minimize the YouTube screen, it's half white horizontally. I don't know. I don't know what to say to that. And that's probably going to depend on also whether or not you're doing that from your cell phone or from your computer. I do most things from my computer. I hate doing stuff on my cell phone if I can help it. In fact, I think I'm going to start deleting more apps from my cell phone. Let's see. Our most viewed video is "This is how we glamp," and is just our tent camping setup. The camping thing, Tyler? It's a big one lately. I notice a lot of people who do camping related videos are their stuff's doing great. There's a guy called Baum. I'm not sure if I'll pronounce it right. Baum Outdoors. Really neat guy. I've watched a few of his videos. I don't have time to watch all of them, but he does a lot of camping videos. He's a Christian guy. He always has scriptures in at the end of his videos, like I do. And I think his channel's pretty new, but his videos are just blowing up all over the place. But he's just got this really great demeanor about him, and he's fun. And so I've watched some of his videos only because I'm trying to look at. He does a lot with tents, and so I've watched some of his videos because we're thinking about for Feast of Tabernacles at some point, maybe doing doing tent camping again, possibly. It's been so long since we've done tent camping, and we'd like to get like a nice tent that we can stay warm and dry in, because you got to realize Feast of Tabernacles happens right about the time we're entering our wettest part of the year, which goes from October until April. That's the wettest time of the year. And then we get rain all the rest of the year too. It's just not as wet of a rain. So yeah, and camping is great preparedness practice. So, and we do have a couple of the stainless steel camp wood stoves that you can use in a tent. So we're trying to look for the kind that also have like the port for the chimney. So just trying to find something that worked best for us, because we need something that is gonna obviously you want something that's pretty easy to set up, that can handle wind, but can also handle heavy amounts of rain. So we're just trying to figure out. I know the group that we're with now, there used to be a much larger fellowship that they would come all over Washington State, and they would all meet in one place, but it would be a drier area. So we're kind of discussing, do we want to try to do a camping thing maybe here around, maybe at our piece of property down the road. They'd actually have a nice piece of property out at their place too, but then they'd probably feel like they were too close to their house. But they even have campsites there, because they do, I think, a hip camp. But yeah, I would like to. It's just, man, it's going to be so doggone wet. I mean, you wouldn't. I don't mind, being in a tent and camping in a tent. I don't mind that. It's If you want to go out and sit by a fire, what do you do when it's constantly pouring down rain? That's kind of where we're at. It's just like, So, so far, nothing here close enough. But after Mike's surgery, we may extend that out. Right. I would really like to do something like that at some point instead of just trying to set up here in my house like I've done the last 2 years. I'd probably still set all that up in here though, either way. So even if we do camp and we're like, too wet, hey everybody, let's go back to the house where we got this nice long dining table. We've got my pseudo tent up here, my pseudo tabernacle or sukkah, and then we've got this back here for all the food. This is why I love using this room for gatherings, because our dining room is really small. You can hardly call it a dining room. It's just small. It's the right size for a family of 4, maybe to 6 tops. But if you want to have any more people than that over for dinner, it's just too small. So you come in here and then you can use this as your buffet, set all the food up here. I'm looking at my lamps back there. I need to recharge them. And and then this little L shape that comes out here is usually where we put like the drinks, like I'll have water and whatever I'll put out here in the glasses, and then all the food all across there. And that's why I keep napkins and stuff. But I do have cloth napkins in that drawer right there. And then I'll just bring all the plates. And behind that, those flowers is a cup that has silverware in it that always stays in here. So, yeah. So even for those, I don't use paper plates or paper napkins. But we have them in here in case we have to. Because again, back to the main topic I was talking about earlier, I still think it's an absolute wise thing to have disposable products on hand because you never know when you may need them. We all set up at my brother's house. A year is a great idea. Yeah, I saw that Tinker's wife said a year. Yeah, we've looked at a few different things. We've got a few different ideas. And we do have our little tiny cabin out there. It's really tiny, but we do have that. But does that count? I don't know. Anyway, wow, I've been on here for an hour and 43 minutes almost and have not got cut off. Wow, the YouTube lords are smiling on me today. Maybe they got my displeasure. But then again, that could cause them to say, hey, we're tired of you whining and complaining about us. So there you go. Anyway, I am grateful that I didn't get cut off and I was able to stay and visit. And it did most definitely lift my mood and lift my spirits. And I appreciate all of you. I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate even those of you who aren't believers who just come in to support me and just be kind and loving and and not slam on me because I use Dawn dish liquid on rare occasions for my dog. Very rare. If I'm not, I use natural soap every other time I wash him though. Natural, I use the Dr. Jacobs, by the way. So anyway, thank you to all my moderators for being here and being loyal. And by the way, Diametra will be back eventually. She did email me. They're in the process of moving. They got a lot going on, and with the time change, they don't actually do their time change yet. They haven't done their jumping ahead an hour until like probably the end of this next week. So that kind of has thrown that off too, making it harder for her to be in here. So she'll be back eventually, but I was glad that she emailed me, let me know that they're doing good. So anyway, love you all. And I just want to say again, thank you. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for everything. So I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Take care and God bless. Love y'all.